You're funny.
All right. Well, I think that we should probably get started as people, I know we still have some people coming on. So everyone welcome, and please chime in. If you've been on any of our past webinars, you know that we don't stand on a script, and we certainly encourage everyone to interact with us. Carol, you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself? I don't know why I can't make the screen go forward. There we go.
Well, while she's working on that, yes, I'm Carol Morgan. I am founder and president of Denim Marketing. We're located in Cartersville, Georgia, which is in the metro Atlanta area. And we do everything from strategic marketing, public relations, blogging, social media, campaigns, reputation management, branding. I guess that's what we're known for. I am second vice chair of the Associates Council for NHB, and Helmut Munt is first vice chair, and this year Judy Donnell is chairing it. So you might see us if you're involved in NHB in the associates meetings. And if you're not involved and you've ever been interested about it, the cool thing is this year all the meetings are being held next week and they're all virtual. So I could put a link up that would tell you how to go register for those. They're free. You can attend pretty much any meeting you want. And if you've ever thought that maybe you want to get involved in the national level, it's a great time to test the waters.
It definitely is. You don't even have to travel.
Yeah, which I love.
Yeah. So except you don't get to room with me. So that's not
true.
Yeah,
Sorry
that's
about that. You'll just have to miss me.
I feel like I see you every day. So, all right.
Pretty much. So who are you?
I don't know.
See your picture.
There I am.
There you are.
Finally, that's good. So I'm Kimberly Mackey. My company is New Home Solutions Consulting. And my job is to work with builders to help them to make sales the engine that drives the train instead of running it off the tracks. So I have broad experience in the home building industry, and have done everything from build homes, sell homes, be it a vice president of sales and marketing for large publicly traded as well as regional builders. And since 2007, which was a great time to go out and start your business, I have been working on this side of things, consulting with builders all over the country. So I do also work with large brokerages, and I run the program here for Berkshire Hathaway Home Services for their preferred building program, where we work with 32 builders and about 750 agents in 20 offices across Central Florida. So it's a pretty big program and a lot of fun. But, you know, we're putting these on because people keep asking us questions, and, you know, we felt like this was a great way to help support the industry right now. But of course we do work. So if there's anything that you need from us, or as you're talking to people and you say, wait a minute, maybe Carol or Kimberly could help out with that, we would certainly appreciate your referrals. You want to add to that, Carol?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's been an interesting 90 days. Can you all believe that? I think today is the third month that my office has been empty with nobody here but me. And we have never worked harder, honestly. The first 7 or 8 weeks was like drinking through a fire hose, repositioning everybody's messaging, you know, just working to get press releases out to help builders, you know, however we could. And that kind of continues, you know, as things are opening back up, you know, revisiting the messaging, making sure it's on track. So, you know, if you need help with messaging, or you need help with the new technology, if you have any marketing questions, call me. If I don't know the answer, I will tell you, and I will help you find the answer.
Yeah, same goes for me. If I don't know, I'm sure I know someone in our network of wonderful consultants and colleagues that we work with. We can find someone to help you out for sure. So today we're going to talk about change and change management. Carol, change is hard, so you go first.
Change is definitely really hard, and doing the same things will produce the same results. In fact, that's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. You know, it's interesting. Most change can take years. In fact, some of the experts on corporate change will say that changing a business and transforming a business can take 5 to 10 years, especially if you're looking for a cultural transformation. We don't really have that much time to change, and our industry, when it decides to change, can certainly move on a dime, and I think we've seen that. You know, with the COVID crisis, we have moved very fast. Our cheese has moved, and we need to change. We've changed some, but we need to make these changes permanent now. It's interesting. I went to Amazon just for kicks and Googled, change. There are over 200 books on Amazon on change, ranging from business ones such as Fish, Leading the Change, Entrepreneurial Leadership, Who Moved My Cheese, which is one of my favorite ones. And then there's lots of them also on self-improvement. So obviously change is a hot topic, and it's because it's hard. It's really hard. And I think Kimberly hears a lot about how hard it is when she's out and about and working to implement change with the builders she works with.
I do. And in fact, look at you mentioned Fish. So
I love that.
this is my mouse pad. So it reminds me every day for the Fish philosophy. And I did get the opportunity to actually go to the fish market in Seattle. So to actually meet those guys. And I bought a salmon that wasn't that expensive, but I think I spent $300 shipping him across country to come back home. Change is hard. And, Carol mentioned Who Moved My Cheese. Well, I think our cheese it not only got moved with COVID, it's rolling down the street and we're chasing after it. And I know that's what we all feel like we're doing, is just chasing this cheese. So it has forced us to change. The good news is that we needed to make that change. That was important for us as an industry to start to try to catch up with other industries. So, while it's a tough thing to go through, the bad part about it is how quickly we had to make the change because we'd been resisting it. Change is hard, so we do tend to resist. It's human nature. But because we resisted it so much, now we're really having to scramble to catch up. And that is putting a lot of stress on a lot of people. So it doesn't matter what your role is at your building company, whatever role, whatever hat you're wearing, you're feeling this pressure right now. And as I'm talking to my clients and people across the country, it's stressful. So it was interesting. Yesterday, I got an email from my insurance carrier and said that they're actually offering all of these support, and they gave all these support lines for the stresses that people are feeling. And I'm like, okay, wow. Because I don't think a whole lot of my insurance company, but to do something like that, I thought was pretty incredible. So we're going to talk about how to create a plan. Because as the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland so aptly put it, when Alice was asking him where she should go, what direction should I go? Where should I go? And he said, well, where do you want to be? And she's like, I don't know. And he said, then any direction will do.
Right.
And that's the way that we're kind of running this right now. It's just like we scramble a little bit over here and then we scramble a little bit over there. And I don't know that we've stopped to take a beat to say, what's our destination? What are we trying to accomplish here? So imagine if you, as the leader of the company, feel that way. What must everyone else in the company? What must your subcontractors and everybody, your customers, anybody who has any interaction with your company? So the first thing I would encourage you to do is stop. And I know that's hard when everything is so crazy, but it is absolutely the best thing you can do. Get quiet, get your team together, and make a plan. And then start breaking that plan down into actionable items that absolutely make sense, and you can tie them to your SMART goals so that you know when you should be able to accomplish them. And understand, I know in home building, everything has to be yesterday. That's when I work with my developers, I'm always like, oh, this is so nice, because in development land, things take longer. So we're not always just like racing. There's like this little pause when you come from the home building industry. Now, if you come from any other industry and you go into development, you're like, oh my gosh, this is insane. There's so much to do. But it's all about that perspective. So, slow down and plan this stuff, and you will be amazed how quickly you and your team can all get on the same page. Carol, I know you and your team have had to manage this and change. You've had a lot of change that's happened for your group.
Yeah, it's been interesting to be at 100% virtual. We even have a virtual intern this summer, and talk about change. We have never had a virtual intern. So that has been a very interesting plan that we had to put in place to figure out just how to manage that position and make sure that she got the learning experience we want our interns to get out of it versus, just doing busy work or kind of grunt work, because that would be what would be easiest to send to her. So that's been a big change for us. But yeah, change is definitely constant. And I guess the thing I like to say, and it's true, if you don't know where you're going, you're not going to get there. But typically you just have got to look forward. You can't dwell on the past and the fact that you were really comfortable back there, because that's not going to help you as you move forward. You just have to figure out where you're going and put that roadmap in place to get there.
Absolutely. Anybody experiencing some of this in your business and some anxiety that goes along with it, chime in the chat for sure on this. Slow and steady wins the race. And, again, I know in home building land, we like to do everything yesterday. So at NAHB, it seems like we definitely take the snail's pace to get things done, but we always have such a sense of urgency because we know every year, you only have a limited amount of time to get things done. But slow and steady does win the race. I mean, set realistic goals and remember that. So you'll wear your team out. You'll wear yourself out. I mean, I myself experienced some of this because I just had so much happening all at once that I had to take like a little mental break and had to take some time just to breathe and be and stop obsessing over all of the stuff that I needed to do. Because like Carol, it seems like, this thing hit and everybody freaked a little bit. And so I've just been busier than I've ever been. But busy isn't always good because that can keep you from being as productive as you can be. And again, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about productivity. So make sure that you understand the difference in the two. Uh-oh, Kevin's going to leave us. Oh, man.
Bye, Kevin.
Bye,
We'll miss
Kevin.
you.
We love you. So break into manageable bites. Review your org chart. And the first thing I would say is if you don't have an organizational chart in your company, even if it's just you and one or two others, you need an org chart. That's a great place to start building one. So no matter what size company you are, you definitely need to have an org chart and define it not by person, because I think as home builders, that's one of the challenges that I see when I try to help companies do their workflows. Is that a lot of times we added people, we didn't necessarily add positions.
Right.
So we have to really look at, those skill sets and those positions. And you may very well have one person doing multiple jobs. That's okay. Define those jobs and then put that person's name under it. It's good to recognize that person, maybe they're the salesperson, they're the marketing person, they're also the janitor, they're the cleaning person, they're whatever they are, the list goes on. Go ahead and assign those jobs and you do your org chart by the job. Just keep putting that, you can write the same name under it. But that will help you to quickly be able to make change because you will be able to identify skills. And when in a time like this, sometimes you may find that the most least likely person is the person who has the skills that you need. So who is a whiz at Excel spreadsheets? Who's the social media guru? It might not be your marketing person. I know that there are quite a few marketing people that I work with, not Carol, thank goodness. But marketing people that I work with who really don't understand social media a whole lot that work for builders. They're still trying to do flyers and print and, they just haven't quite gotten there. So just because they're the marketing person doesn't necessarily mean that they might be the right person in that organization. You're also going to be able to identify holes
Kimberly, you may be frozen.
gaps by hiring agency, by hiring outsourcing. I know I do. Uh-oh, did I lock up?
You're good now.
Did I freeze? Oh,
you did freeze, but you're fine now.
Okay, so did we hear the part about agency and outsourcing?
You came back with the word agency.
Okay, so I talked about outsourcing and agency to fill those gaps. And that's what you want to make sure that you need those things to be done. You don't necessarily need a full-time person to do them. So that's where you can fill that void there. But again, you won't know that unless you really define what it is that needs to get accomplished and who is the best person to accomplish it. Carol, do you want to chime in on this one?
No, I think sometimes it's surprising who's best suited to do that. You know, it might not be the person with the big title who has that skill. The person with the big title might be able to identify the person that works for them that has the skill that's needed. So again, you know, dividing it out by task, I think is absolutely the best way to go. We actually
Yeah.
have two really phenomenal Atlanta marketing folks on the call with us today. I want to give a shout out to my friends Katie Hickey and Tanya Cash. Nice to see you ladies here. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for joining. That's awesome. So yeah, it is surprising. So sometimes you get salespeople. I always like to find out what are the talents of my salespeople, especially if I'm dealing with a smaller builder, because some salespeople are just super getting out there to do things with realtors or grassroots kind of stuff, or some of them, may be excellent on social media. So we can tap people's skills, even though maybe they're not in marketing, but I would say we're all really in sales and marketing. Sometimes it's the person who can organize all of this is your financial person. So, you can reach into our CFOs and our accounting people sometimes to help us with a lot of the technical tasks, and they know how to program those algorithms and to program Excel, and a lot of times they can help you with a lot of the technical things. So, don't always just look within your own department or within your own discipline. Look across the organization. And again, if you find that you don't have anybody in there, then maybe you look at doing something, pulling somebody in outside or pulling somebody in part-time or somebody temporary if it's something that you only need on a temporary basis. But just don't leave those gaping holes because they will bite you for sure. So I love these pictures. Every time I look at them, they make me laugh. So Chris Hartley, I don't know if Chris made the call. He had another meeting, so I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to make the call, but he was sweet enough last night to send me these pictures. And this is him when he was at Trendmaker Homes. He's now the VP of Sales at K. Hovnanian at their Dallas division. But Ingrid Prince, who's now the sales manager at Trendmaker Homes Dallas, this is a couple of their sales meetings that they did. And I love this because it shows that they're having fun. And sometimes I think we just take ourselves so seriously and we forget that, you know what, we got to have fun. And right now is definitely the time to have some fun. I had some fun a couple of weeks ago with all my colleagues. Kevin contributed across the country, Angela McKay, Carol did, Leah Turner, Jimmy Schaefer. We had a lot of fun. We did a pass it on video. You can find that on my blog if you haven't seen that, where we're literally passing on something from each other virtually. And we told dad jokes, we gave some advice, and we talked about some of those crazy things that we're doing just to get through. So hopefully, it's okay to take a brain break now and then. But when you meet and check in often after you have set your goals with your team and you have defined those benchmarks with them, you have a little fun with it. Make it visual, put it out there so that they can see that their portion of what they're doing is how it plays into the bigger picture. I think we forget that. We get so siloed in our organizations that, oh, I only do this and I do this and I do that. And we all forget how it all works together. So I really encourage you to have fun, create some contests and games. Some of the funnest contests that I have done, we did a sales contest where if the team met their goal, then we were going to have this really fun outdoor sales meeting, and the division president was going to be in a dunk tank. And so if you beat your sales goal, so every individual had their own sales goal, but then the more you topped whatever your goal was, the more shots you got to take at the division president in the dunk tank. And he hammed it up. It was hilarious. He wore a tuxedo. He went out and rented a tuxedo, wore the shiny shoes, the whole shebang. For the dunk tank. And of course, being in Florida, it was a nice hot day outside. We all had some fun out by a pool at a hotel. I also did one time where the team got to go to Discovery Cove over at SeaWorld. And if you exceeded your sales goal, so in order to go, the whole team had to meet their goal. And then if you exceeded your goal, then you got to swim with the dolphins. So it was like this little extra thing. Anybody could, but they would have to pay the extra amount. But if you, you won that, if you exceeded what your personal goals were. So think, globally as a team, when we meet this goal, and then maybe think of individually and reward those individuals for their efforts. I'm always a big fan of rewarding right behavior. And I think we don't do that often enough. I think we get caught up in the end and the result. And sometimes we just don't look at what is the right behavior. And is somebody trying, and maybe they're struggling a little bit. So what kind of support can we offer them? I spend in my coaching calls, it's amazing. I mean, people don't believe some of the things that I do. In fact, sometimes when I'm doing them with the salespeople, they're like, I know this probably isn't your job. And I'm like, it's all my job if it helps you to get to your goal. So if they have some technical difficulty and they don't understand, last week, I was working with a gentleman up in Minneapolis, just outside of Minneapolis in Minnesota. And he had made a fantastic virtual walkthrough video. I mean, it was amazing. It was 6 minutes long though. And he kept trying to text it to me. And I'm like, that won't work, Rick. You cannot just text that to me. So he's like, well, I don't know how to get it out of my phone. So, I was like, okay, well, what kind of phone do you have? And I showed him how to save it to his Google Drive because he had an Android. I'm like, well, that's easy because he had an Android. Of course, I could have shown him if he'd been on an iPhone how to upload it to the cloud. There's so many things, but he just didn't know how to do that. And then once he was able to do that, we had this great video that we could share on the social media. We got a lot of interaction, and more importantly, he got appointments out of it. So, you just have to be supportive of people, and it's not enough just to tell them to go do something. Slow down long enough to find out what's going to keep them from being able to do it. And we say things in the haste of the moment, and we say, oh, well, just go Google it, or just go to YouTube, and there's lots of videos on that. Take it a step further. Slow down. Help them to go to YouTube. If they're struggling with technical skills, chances are they may not understand how to do a search on YouTube. They may not understand how to then pause that video and kind of play along with it, how to toggle their screen back and forth even. These are all things that, we didn't hire people necessarily in the past with these kinds of technical skills. And now we have these wonderful people who are loyal and work very, very hard. And we need to help them to get up to where now the technology is requiring us to be because of our current environment. So again, provide those resources. Maybe, if somebody you find in the company does have those technical skills, they can coach, or you could have a hotline, or you could have a Zoom call every day to just show people one thing about what to do with technology and where your team is struggling. Give those resources to them, and then hold them accountable though. Don't allow that to become an excuse. That's the biggest thing. Oh, well, I don't know how to do it. Okay, great. Let me show you. So I show them once, then I have them do it with me. So they learn, they show me that they were listening, and I help them along the way. And then I have them go try it without me. And I follow up and report, and have them report back. How did it go? What were the challenges? And again, help them again. You've got to help them until they have the confidence to do it on their own. But even then, it's still a change. And when you're asking people to make a change, that's not going to happen very quickly unless you're holding them accountable for the results of that change. And it's not enough to hold them accountable once. So create forms, set those expectations. And each week, sometimes maybe daily, depending on what the measurement is, you've got to have that check-in, whether it's a virtual check-in, whether they're just sending you an email to tell you what happened during the day. I know when I get a salesperson who gets stuck, or even a sales manager sometimes that is distracted by all the administrivia that's coming at them, a lot of times I encourage them to kind of keep a daily diary and to send that to me at the end of the day. And we'll do that, with a shared drive or an email or whatever they're comfortable with. But that helps to hold them accountable and keep them on task. And again, I like to reward that right behavior for doing that. So thank you, Chris and Ingrid, for sharing these fun photos that you did with your team to cheer them on. These were all wrapped around contests and themes and things that they did. To have a little fun, keep their team, looking forward to something as mundane and what is usually dreaded as a sales meeting. But I thought these were just really great, and it was sweet. It was 11 o'clock last night when Chris, that's above and beyond the Call of Duty, sending that to me. So any, I know I rambled on there for a few minutes, Carol, but any thoughts on this one?
I think this is really a fun area and people don't always look at it as fun. A few things that we've done that have been successful, just within denim marketing, I've got 3 different opportunities for each of my employees to earn an additional bonus each month. And it's all based on things they need to do anyway, but it has a time limit with it. So to get people to, meet certain deadlines, I reward them. Like you were mentioning, we do lunch and learns, whether those are virtually in today's, times, or whether those are in person to teach new skills. So maybe one of us has found some new cool tool on Pinterest and we want to show the best way to optimize it and how to use it. We'll do a lunch and learn and order food and sit around a conference table and eat and talk and learn a new skill. The other thing that I have found really, really works well, especially when you're teaching somebody something new or you're holding them accountable for something, is ask them what they need to meet that goal. Ask them what they don't know and ask them how you can help them. Because a lot of times people just won't come forward and then they just, prioritize that to the bottom of their list, even though maybe it's something that's very important for the company.
Yeah. And if they're uncomfortable doing it, they will definitely procrastinate doing it without a doubt.
Absolutely.
So I love that you have your team teaching. So it's not just you coming up with it as the leader, but you're tapping other members of the team to share something, which also challenges them to make sure that they've mastered something well enough to teach it.
Right. It also helps them with their presentation skills. So, the more you present, the more comfortable you get with it. All of us on this call in some form or fashion are presenting to someone every day. So learning to do that in an organized fashion is one of the priorities I have for my team.
Yeah, I agree. So I think all of those, especially as leaders, we often think that we're the ones that have to come up with all this stuff. And no, again, tap into the resources on your team, but the checking in often, especially if you're not physically back together. But I think even if you are, when you, if you get together with purpose and do those lunch and learns, and I'm sure most of us still are working remotely, have members of our team working remotely. I know a lot of our sales teams have gone back in California and, in a lot of states where we do have sales offices open again. But salespeople in and of themselves particularly feel very isolated. So as leadership in the company, the more you can include them and now all of your team. So, and I think it's important. So whether, it's an administrative person, bring them again, everybody needs to be part of the bigger goal. And right now, I think that's even more important than ever. So I'm trying to move forward. It's for whatever reason doing something
Moving
weird.
forward is really important.
Yes, it is. Moving forward is important. So this is a big one with the benchmarks. And Carol, I know you're big on ROI.
So return on investment, whether it's implementing change or implementing a marketing program, you've got to know what you're measuring. So once you know what you're going to measure, it's going to help you to track those metrics and build the program the way you can measure it. So, you can look at it as here's what I want to achieve, and you can, back into it to figure out what those metrics are, or you can figure out what the metrics are that you want to achieve and then build the program to make sure that you result in those metrics. So you can look at it either way, but if you're not tracking it and if it's not measurable and if people can't see progress, and they need to see progress to understand how they fit into the big picture and that they're, maybe 1 or 2 tasks are incredibly important to keep everything moving forward.
It really is. And you can weight those tasks so that people do understand what they're doing funnels into those tasks. And again, I think it's so important to visibly measure progress. So come up with something. If everybody is back in the office, then maybe it's a big poster, in the office or in the break room or in the conference room, where you're filling it in as you get forward with every step you take. If you're working remotely, then maybe it's a report. Try to make it a little more fun, a little more visual. But maybe it's a report that is getting emailed out to everybody, or it's on the shared drive, so that everybody can see, and they can see that funneling in together, that we're all rowing in the same direction, which of course is so important when we want to get where we're going. Technical difficulties is probably the biggest challenge that I am hearing from my builders. Carol, are you hearing the same thing?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not necessarily technical difficulties always, but it's uncomfortableness with the technical. So I guess that's a technical difficulty, but it's, people not really wanting to go out there and do a virtual tour or a Facebook Live, or, tools they haven't used before, and getting comfortable.
So, I live on Zoom, but when this whole thing started, I had to learn to run my own webinars. And, certainly I don't claim to be an expert at it, but we're getting the job done, right? So that it's important that you do take those steps. And again, we have to help people to get unstuck with this, and let them understand this is not going away once we go back to whatever normal happens to be after this. And none of us have a crystal ball that's going to tell us what normal is. Here are some of the areas that I see our teams, our companies. So it's not just, we tend to focus this, that it's on our outward focusing people, our marketing and our sales people. But really it's our company as a whole not utilizing the kinds of tools that are available to us. So one of the really interesting things that happened last night, Builder Funnel came out, and you guys are getting a sneak preview. So those of you who are on this call, you're getting a total sneak preview, because this doesn't go out to the public until next week. So Builder Funnel does this survey every year, and they started in January, and they actually surveyed people through the end of March. So it was an interesting time to be doing a survey. There's 41 pages of all kinds of sales and marketing, analytics, and what people are focused on, what their challenges are. This one I really liked. So what is your biggest sales challenge at your company? Qualifying leads was a very small amount. So that's interesting to me. It was 18.18%. Following up and staying in touch with leads was almost 40%. And of course, not surprisingly, closing leads. So all three of those go hand in hand. And a sales CRM, sales and marketing CRM. So your customer resource manager is the most important tool that you can have in this. So of course, our friends at Lasso, our friends at MXTR, those were some of the big ones we saw. They actually track which ones, and it tells you which ones people are using by percentage, but that wasn't the important thing that I took out of it for this particular presentation. So invalid or unorganized data is one of the biggest challenges. As I work with builders, I spend a lot of time reviewing their CRM, because I'm not physically there with them. This is the tool to tell me what's happening in their sales and marketing world, so that I can analyze it and make recommendations so that they can have improved performance. I would say this is big, actually. This 12% is probably much larger, and we just don't realize it, because again, this was survey results. So, and I see Carol has put up the link for you guys to go and download this report. So please feel free to do that, and you can see the whole thing. But garbage in, garbage out. If your team and your website is not putting in the right data, then you're not going to be able to track what you need to track. Getting your sales team, again, data entry. So that all goes into this, and having your sales team recognize that everyone should be registered. I tell my salespeople that even the UPS and the FedEx guy should get registered at least one time. So lack of integration, usually that is a product of us not integrating it with our current system. Sometimes there are some technical difficulties depending on the system that won't allow it to integrate, but oftentimes that is something that can easily be patched or fixed so that it can work together. Tracking the sales funnel and then under usage. Look at this giant chunk right here that's under usage. And again, this is just focused on CRM, but it's so true with many of the technologies that we have. And under usage is absolutely the biggest problem. That comes from not training people how to do it, comes from not understanding how to maximize the full capacity of it, or perhaps it's not the right system for you. You know, I've got people who are trying to use a software that was developed to be a communication tool and a production tool as a CRM. And I can tell you all day long that is not working. It is a nightmare. And I spend more time trying to pull data and fix things that would easily be solved. They end up spending just as much time and money because they're trying to pull all these other reports just so they can use one tool. Well, if that tool isn't the right tool, it's trying to kind of like trying to hammer with a wrench, you know. I mean, it'll get the job done, but it's not the best way to do it. It's not the most efficient way to do it. And I don't think any of us would encourage our homes to be built that way. So CRM is an invaluable tool to all companies of all sizes. I have a CRM, and my actual employees, it's me and one other person. We outsource some things, but CRM is, you know, we live and die by it. So you got to have that. CRM will provide you with support, sales, strategy, marketing, analysis, orders, and service. So it will allow you to know what's working, what's not working. And a lot of these reports, you don't have to build these reports yourself. If you have the right CRM, you'll be able to pull these reports right out of your CRM. So you know where your focus needs to be as a company to keep you marching forward. Carol, I know you got stuff to say about this one.
You know, the biggest thing we see is just the survey said it all, people not using it. And, you know, from the marketing perspective, I really want to know, where did that lead come from? Because that tells us what's working and what's not working. And if nobody asks them to fill out that form, or, you know, if they're not really, you know, qualified as far as a marketing lead, then we're still, you know, kind of guessing and having to base that on traffic numbers, which, you know, is a great indicator as well. But I guess that's kind of my biggest pet peeve at a CRM is, you know, having one's great, but having it and using it's even better.
Yeah, I'm working with a small builder, my Minnesota builder that I was talking about, that, and he has his sales force is actually outside real estate agents. So it's important, you know, that he's got these. He doesn't even have a sales team himself, and we spend a lot of time trying to get these realtors to use the CRM, put the data in properly. And now we've got the buy-in because they're starting to see the results, the fruits of their labor off of it too. But we spend a couple hours a week, and it's one that I actually work on with Builder Funnel. And so we have, you know, we spend an hour focusing on the marketing side of it and what we're going to do looking forward. But then I have another meeting with him and with the realtors themselves, trying to look at, you know, what's working, what didn't work, analyze the numbers, look at external factors, which have been a huge issue lately, of course, especially up there in the past week. What is that doing to our numbers, and what can we expect going forward? And, you know, being able to adjust and improvise, all of those things are just so important to be able to do. So, but again, if you don't teach your team how to use it, it's going to be garbage in, which means you're going to get garbage out. So Helmut, I can't answer that question. I think it depends on the builder. I have those that I like working with. Of course, huge fan of Lasso CRM. I work with a company called MXTR as well, and they use SharpSpring, and they're an overlay on that. And then I've created an overlay for that for smaller builders because they provide that support. I like working with Spencer and his team. They use HubSpot. HubSpot is a little bit of a challenge because it's set up as business to business, but it is customizable, and there's a lot of things you can do with it. And I like that his team provides that support to be able to do the technical stuff on the backside, so that the salespeople don't have to know how to do that. They just kind of tell them what needs to be done. So I think it depends on your company, your size, the skills that you have there. You know, and there are other ones that are out there for sure that may be working very well. The key is that you're working them, and that you're using it, you're looking at it, and that you're pulling that data, because I think as an owner of a company, you can't allocate your cash appropriately if you don't know what is driving your business. And this is the single tool that will tell you how to do that. So Media Lab, our friend Danny Collins that we were chatting with at the top of the hour with his lovely British accent, she was kind enough to share this with me. This is another thing. You know, we have companies now realizing how important it is. We've been telling them for years, but people are realizing, I got to have these interactive floor plans. I got to have these virtual tours. So this is a community virtual tour that he was gracious enough to share with me last night. I mean, and look, I mean, the trees are just, I mean, it's incredible. And you can click through. Let's see if it'll let me click.
The quality of virtual tours has gotten so much better. And it's interesting. I think most people thought these were really reserved for large communities or more condos, you know, virtual tours and virtual reality. But I think that we've got buyers now who are going to expect us to provide them with virtual reality at a very high level for all of our different product types. Is it working now? Oh, there you go. Now we can walk through this.
Yeah. So if your sales team, again, your whole team, so not just sales. I mean, you need, the marketing team needs to totally understand this. Everyone needs to understand it so that they can answer questions and they can look at it and see, you know, I mean, look at the detail, the level of detail here is just amazing. And it goes on. I mean, you can click through all the different points that are in here. You can go back to the front. They've even got the traffic signs in here. And then you can click and look at the gardens. You can look at the amenities. You know, we have to do this when people are locked down. But the reality of it is we're going to have to do this, continue to do this going forward, because we have buyers who are buying things sight unseen. So knock on wood, I sold my own home or wrote a contract. We're not through all of the contingencies yet. Never met the buyer, sight unseen. They bought off of virtual tours that my realtor and I created. They bought, you know, from a FaceTime walkthrough with their realtor. I mean, people do this. So it happens every day in the Panhandle of Florida. At a couple of my builders, I work with Randy Wise Homes and Flynn Built up in two separate sections of the Panhandle up there with the military buyers. Constantly, you know, we're selling sight unseen. These are tools that, you know, aren't that expensive, and companies like Media Lab, Outhouse, you know, that do these things are just absolutely incredible. And the technology that Danny did a walkthrough with me the other day, guys, I was blown away. I was like, that's a picture, right? He's like, no, that's a rendering, Kimberly. I'm like, are you kidding me? And then he showed me the next level technology that basically is being built using gaming technology and design center and all the stuff that they're going to be. I mean, imagine if you didn't have to stock all that stuff or wait on all those supplies, and you could just show people virtually wherever they are, so that they could make their selections and not get held up. And I mean, it's mind blowing how far this technology and how quickly this technology is coming. You don't have to wait on your sales centers to be built when you use this. I did a presentation at IBS this past year, and I had no idea how applicable it was going to become, you know, saying, what, you don't have to wait. You don't have to build these models and wait to start selling. Start selling now and go to where the buyers are. Well, right now where the buyers are is in their own home. So a lot of these virtual tours just really, really make the difference.
Kimberly, just at the bottom left-hand side of that screen on the community tour there, you can also activate the static sitemap. So again, it just gives you
that's cool,
another option to actually see, you know, the whole area, and then you can click from hotspot to hotspot to go into that viewpoint.
I went back into the presentation, of course, just as you said that. So But I encourage you
you.
to go to Media Lab, and Danny, you'll share the link with people so they can look at that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, he sent me, you wouldn't believe, I got really sidetracked, actually, very distracted last night when I was supposed to be building, the rest of this presentation. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And I just kept playing with the tools. But selling is more than just your floor plans. You guys pay big bucks to be in these master plan communities and have these incredible amenities. And yet most salespeople, when we see them on the shop, they never take people on amenity tours. And that's why people choose one of these communities over a traditional neighborhood or just a single family home off somewhere, because they want to be part of a community. That's the one thing that drew them there, and yet we're not taking advantage of it. So this is shockingly, this is another one of Media Lab's virtual renderings that they've done. I mean, it just looks so real. And I mean, look at these boats in the water. It's just incredible. But if that amenity isn't built, I mean, what a great, even if it is built, to be able to share that with somebody remotely and to be able to show them what all they can be a part of, to have them buy into the community mentally. Your team has to be able to adapt. And the sales center presentation that Danny shared with me, that makes it so easy. It gets rid of all the clutter. It's not just pulling up your website and clicking through a bunch of stuff on your website, but it's actually a presentation, and your sales team can just click through step by step by step and walk a buyer through virtually, in person. It doesn't matter. And have that buyer really understand and really be able to try that community on for size, which is what I often call, the sales process. We have to have the buyer try it on for size. Does this feel like home for them? Because that's the real question right there. So Danny, again, thank you so much for sharing this. It's just beautiful and such a valuable tool. And I think most of our builders now realize that they were missing this in their arsenal. And I think they're going to be more willing to have it, but it's not going to do them any good if we don't have their whole company and we have everybody buying into it. Carol, from a marketing perspective?
From a marketing perspective, there are some huge gaps we all have to fill. And I think we have found that our buyers have shopped us this way for a long time. We know this. We know that they used to come onto our websites and they would review and review and review and maybe narrow it down to 4 or 6 different communities. So it was kind of interesting. Some people used to have the mindset that I don't want to put everything out there. I don't want to give them too much information. I need them to come see me. Now, that mindset, if anyone still has that, and my guess is nobody on this call does, but you probably know some people who still think that way, it's got to change, because the reality is if they don't find everything they want to see on your website, then they're certainly not going to come see you, because they're going to rule you out before they even get to that step. But our buyers are more savvy than ever. They want to see all of it as much as possible while they're on your website and while they're getting to know you. And that includes your social media and everything you're putting out there digitally. And they're going to narrow it down. The statistic we're hearing now is they're going to narrow it down to 2 houses, which they may or may not go see, depending on, what area of the country they live in and where they're moving from, and a number of factors. So the more you can put out there so that they can tour your homes, see your homes, touch and feel your homes. We're even seeing people sell homes from Facebook Live events now. So having a Facebook Live grand opening, a Facebook Live model unveiling, those are becoming great lead sources for brokers and for builders that are selling this way. So, which I guess leads right into this.
That was a perfect segue.
Perfect segue. If you're not comfortable with this, if your team's not comfortable with it, there are a number of different people who've literally created step-by-step ways to do this. There's lots of technology out there, and this is something we're all going to have to become a lot better at. How do we video conference? How do we do individual tours? Getting our agents comfortable with walking that person one-on-one through the model, because they might not want to come see the model home, regardless of COVID. We've got a whole group of people out there who really don't want to talk to anyone on the phone. They want to see their friends and do their own thing. But if you can help them see what they want to see by walking them through the home, then they're going to do that. So it's just a different mentality. The whole world has changed. It's not just, we like to say the millennials and that it's Gen Z, but it's not just those two generations.
It is not
it's
just them.
everyone.
Yeah, that picture on the top up here with the gentleman with and you can see he's talking to someone, that actually is his wife. I was out in a model center, and this was taken in January of this year. So pre-COVID, this lady, as I started to talk to them a little bit, I found out that she was pregnant and on bed rest. So she couldn't, they needed a new home. They had to relocate, and she was physically stuck in bed. So he was out being the legs and allowing her to be the eyes virtually so they could see it and experience it together. And now, you know, I mean, these realtors have gotten better and better. I've actually seen the lady that sold my home or represented the buyer did a phenomenal virtual tour. I started staying in my home because not every realtor was very responsible with the whole COVID restrictions. But so I saw some crazy stuff, but that video tour that she did, I mean, she was literally like shining the camera down. Yeah, this is the flooring in this area, and you know, these are the ceilings. Oh, look how, you know, how high they are in this area, and you know, I mean, like every nook and cranny. And your sales team, your whole company, we got to get really comfortable with this kind of technology because it's not going away. It was here. Buyers have been demanding it. We just were a little tone deaf about it. And whenever it would happen, we just kind of felt like it was a novelty for most of us. The exception being those builders, of course, in the Panhandle that see it a lot because of military buyers. Basic video editing, and you know, and photo editing. These are all things that your sales team and people need these skills. And we found that they don't know. I mean, if they don't even know how to upload a video, much less edit that video, crop it down, get it in the right time frame, get it in there, and make everything line up with it. This was the fun pass it on video that I did, and you can see Carol. Well, I have my chat over it, but right over here, that's Carol with her horses in it. So you know, I mean, there are lots of tools. This is CyberLink's Power Director. I love it. I'm a fan. It's easy to use. I did not have time to learn Adobe and speak Adobe because that's a whole new language when I had to start taking my videos to the next level. Nor did I necessarily have the budget to hire out or send it to my good friend Jimmy Schaefer over at Real Reach. Even as affordable as he is and as amazing as he is, you know, I couldn't do that for every little video that I wanted. I saved that for bigger videos, short little videos that I wanted to just get out on social media or put on my blog. You know, I and my team, Krista, does a lot of my video editing, and you know, we use this tool, and it's a really incredible, easy to use tool. And this is an old photo that from a presentation long ago, but I had one of my on-sites who literally went out because a customer was interested in this home and took a picture of this home. Now, you can see that the curb is pretty messy. You can see that there's a power cord. There's actually, I cropped it, but there was a porta potty over here, and you can see the permit boards right here. You know, so it's like, is that really putting your best foot forward? And your sales team on the fly are taking pictures like this all the time and sending them to people. So if you can see it, it's going to be in the picture. So make sure your sales team understands. But worst case scenario, let's say it's something they couldn't move. So in this instance, the power cord was running to somebody working on the home next door. So we couldn't really move it. We could have slid it out of the way, I think, a little bit better. But nonetheless, we couldn't move the porta potty, right? So I took the same photo, still not a great blue day, you know, all of this. This is, again, one of those photos on the fly. Cropped it to get rid of all the garbage, cleaned up the driveway. I used PicMonkey. I don't have Photoshop, and again, I don't speak Adobe. So these are things that your sales team, your not just your marketing team, needs to be able to do. So, and Carol, you're going to love this one. So with the sales team has to support the social media responses and the social media efforts too. This is a calendar that I put together for one of my builders, and it's simply a Google Doc so that everybody could go in, they could edit it, it automatically updated. You didn't have to worry about anybody saving it, and the team could go in and they could claim their day. and then working with the agency could then see, okay, what are we missing? Because they had access to it as well. And then we were able to fill in the gaps and make sure that our social media calendar had the personal flair, also had the SEO and SEM that we needed because the agency was taking care of that side of it. But the on-site agents were out there. They were snapping those photos. They were getting the videos. They were, they had Partner Appreciation Day or Product Feature Wednesday or what. And you can hashtag this stuff. And you, Carol, I'm getting into your territory.
It's okay. I am a huge believer in these types of calendars. Most of the companies that we work with, we build a marketing calendar for the month. And we build it a month at a time, with every post status, all the words, the photos, the videos, whatever it's going to be that we need to have in there. And then once they approve that and we schedule all that, they know when things are running. So then we know when we can move things, because they'll come in between our posts and post those happy homeowner photos with the, the yard sign, or post, what's going on in their office that day, the things that we're not going to have access to because we're not sitting right there in their office with them. So I think it's a great way to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So quick recap, understand that change is hard, but don't accept excuses. Create a plan. Break that plan into manageable chunks, take action, reward right behavior, meet and check in often, make it fun, hire for skills, train and support those that you already have on board to make sure they level up to the new realities of today, and then hold everyone, especially yourself, accountable. Our next webinar, we're only going to do these monthly now. So if you signed up, you had the option to sign up for one or all. I encourage you to sign up for all. July 10th at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Again, we're going to be doing marketing ROI. And it's marketing ROI for the C-suite, meaning what you need to measure, not just that you're a C-suite and you're the only ones to attend it. And we also wanted to share with you, if you at your association are looking for some way to provide value, so we encourage you to reach out to your associations. We have a master training session for builders. It is an in-depth workshop. So please reach out to your associations and have them reach out to us, and we can tell them all about it. But we can do this virtually, so it's safe. It's something that your associations can do right now. So any final thoughts? Open forum. I know we had some questions coming in. Carol, I think you were addressing those.
I think I've answered almost all of them. There was a question about what you're using for video editing, and that is Cyberlink's video editor. I also use one if you need one that's a little bit video light. I think Kimberly's using what I would call a fairly robust program, like maybe a medium-sized one. But Microsoft, if you have the Microsoft suite, they have a program that comes for free called Video Editor, and it's pretty good for a light application. She is using what were you using for editing photos?
PicMonkey.
PicMonkey. We've used PicMonkey, but again, Microsoft Suite has one called Paint that's really easy too. So there's lots of different options out there that are free to do these things. Another program that Kimberly loves, I think as much as my team does, is called Canva. So if you're creating social media graphics and want a really great way to create those, you can go to canva.com.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all. I know we started a couple minutes late because as people were coming on, but thank you all for joining us today. And we are going to be this is being recorded, so you're welcome to get the recording and share that with anybody else, and invite others to come join us next month. So, and thanks again to Danny and everybody else who contributed to this today. We really appreciate it. Bye, everybody. Have a great day.
Have a great weekend.